The Prime Minister facing opposition pressure in the House of Commons there as 1/3 of the public service walked off the job this morning. That's 155,000 public servants on strike. And that, of course, disrupts many government services, everything from getting your tax returns to processing your passports. They're picketing right now at 250 different locations across the country. I want to bring in the front bench to dig into the potential political risk of a prolonged strike. That's a lot of P's. With me this evening, former senior advisor to the Liberal Ontario governments of Dalton McGuinty and Kathleen Wynne, Dan Moulton. He's now Vice President with Crestview Strategy. Former Alberta MLA and Cabinet Minister Gary Marr. He's the President and CEO of the Canada West Foundation. Former Communications Director to Jagmeet Singh, Melanie Richer. She is now with Earnscliffe Strategies. And right next to her, CTV National News Ottawa Bureau Chief Joyce Napier. Hi, everybody. I think we didn't have a shot of Gary because there's something wrong with his camera, but he'll be with us momentarily. Dan, I wanted to start with you. Do you think anybody politically is wearing this, either the union or the government, yet? And does that risk calculation change the longer the strike goes on?
Well, certainly the longer the strike goes on, Vassy, you're absolutely right. The political risk is going to grow. As the Prime Minister said in the House today, it is just day one of this Labour action. It's a bit early to start deciding who's winning and losing the political battles of this. No doubt the opposition are going to be trying to extract as much as they can out of the conversation at the expense of the Liberals. And no doubt the union leadership are going to be doing everything that they can to increase their leverage, increase pressure on the government. We saw some of those tactics at Bear today. I think the fundamental thing that the government needs to keep repeating is the importance of Canadians receiving the services they expect from the federal government, and the importance of the union arriving at the table and negotiating in good faith with the government against the proposals that they're putting forward. The government today pointing out the fact that the union has not responded to a proposal that was put forth on Monday. And so hopefully we'll see both parties at the table coming to settlement in the days ahead. But I think it's a little too early to say what the political consequences are quite yet.
I think, Melanie, that's a fair point. And I also think, like, as Dan laid it out there, and throughout my interviews, like, I'm a little confused because the government has put forth an offer that the mediator determined was fair, but they waited months after that determination was made to put it forth. At the same time, the union is kind of resisting it and going on strike, even though it has also acknowledged that it was fair. So, like, I don't understand where the huge gulf is that exists that has prompted what's happening today.
And I think a big thing to that point is because it's now been 2 years that they're in negotiations without a contract, it has just kind of escalated to this point where we're now seeing the strike happen and seeing workers out striking. I would say that nobody really wants to strike. Nobody's doing this because it's fun. They really are asking for better wages, and they think that there's a path for them to get that. Hopefully there's a resolution that comes soon because like you've mentioned and like our other panelists has mentioned, Canadians and the services that they rely on are in the balance of this, but it is a bit, I think, confusing for folks watching at home, which is too bad because really the big goal out of this is the fight for better wages here is not just for these federal public service workers, but really having better wages for those workers will give better wages for workers across the country.
I think certainly, Joyce, that's what the union is trying to articulate, right? Hey, we're helping everybody out. The sort of political vulnerability I see for them is, and I sense from the government, they feel a little bit like public sentiment is on their side because, and I said this to Chris Alward, I feel like most people out there would be like, 9% sounds good, you know what I mean? Like it's not like anybody really is keeping up with. I understand making the argument to keep up with inflation, but nobody really is.
No, nobody is, and you know they're negotiating for their own union members. They're not negotiating for all Canadian workers. Let's be serious, and good for them. They're doing their job, and they're doing what they have to do. But another bone of contention is the capability or the capacity to now work remotely, and that is also a very big issue. And we heard Mona Fortier today, the minister, saying, look, we understand that that has now become a Canadian reality. It's very first world, but yes, okay, it's a Canadian reality. They want the right to be able to work from home when big portions of the economy cannot. Nurses, doctors, teachers, police people, you know, I can go on and on, bus drivers. There's probably most workers out there who can't work from home. And I geeked out and I looked in StatsCan, and and I look to see, who are the people who are actually more likely to work from home, are the more educated. This is Statistics Canada. Therefore, the higher paid civil servants can more likely work from home than the lower paid ones, who are janitors, security people, maintenance people, because they also work for the federal government. So that's a kind of an interesting thing. If the federal government determines and enshrines in a collective agreement that the work from home becomes a right, and therefore the public sector will have to follow suit, and it will be even harder for them to find people to come into work rather than people who would like hybrid work from home. So it will change, really. This particular negotiation is really changing the way Canada works, actually. So it is a pretty important, even if it's only 155,000 people, it will have consequences on the private sector as well.
Well, Dan, it's really reflective, I think, of a conversation that's happening outside of the public sector as well. And I sort of see two sides to it. I understand the desire for flexibility and the kind of need to offer it in order to attract the best talent. At the same time, I understand the federal government's point of view that you can't cede jurisdiction on decisions of that nature outside of the managerial role, right? The union seems to say, well, that's not exactly what we're looking for, but I think that's what the government thinks they are looking for.
Absolutely, Vassy. And Joyce put that all very elegantly in terms of the core issues that are at stake in this negotiation for all of Canadian society, really. The union leadership is going to want to make this as much about pay and equitable pay as they possibly can. We saw it on the placards out on the picket lines today. It was mostly about cost of living and affordability and the pay that federal workers receive. The reality is the union will not accept a deal that doesn't enshrine their workers' right to work remotely, work wherever they choose. And that is a real problem for the government. It's a problem for a variety of reasons, as you point out, ceding out control from managers about who gets to work where, when. But it's also about sending a signal to all of Canadian society that you can work from wherever you want to. At the same time that the CEO of RBC and other Canadian industry leaders are saying, we need to deal with the productivity losses of the pandemic and working from home. People aren't working as efficiently, they're not working as hard, and they're not working the same number of hours. And so we need to get people back to the office. You're in the studio today, your colleagues in the studio today, I'd be there with you if I could be. We want to see people back in workplaces, back in places where they're at their most productive. And I think the federal government needs to hold a firm line on this one today.
It is interesting, though, because I feel like a lot of people, Melanie, don't think that way anymore, right? And, and it's such a competitive, I feel like in a few years, if we were not at full employment, it might be a different conversation. But now it's kind of like, to attract the best, you might have to offer some of that flexibility. Dan's right that a lot of big companies are saying, hey, we've lost some productivity. We don't need to do this anymore. But there are others. I sat beside a CEO of a bank a few months ago who was like, no, I'm saying everyone can work from home. I work from home now. So it is a changing environment, as Joyce pointed out.
Totally. I disagree a little bit with some of the things that were said just before. I don't think that it's true that the union wouldn't accept a deal that didn't have this in there. I don't know that that's totally factual. Well, it's something that they're working on. I don't think if this component isn't in it, they're going to walk away.
It's not the red line for them?
I don't think so. That's not the signal that I've at least heard in my circles, and that's not what it seems to be that they're putting out there. And to your point, are there some organizations that have seen a loss of productivity? Sure, but we've also seen some who have had the opposite. We're seeing the inclusion of women in particular in the workforce. It's actually much better for them to be able to do it from home because they are able to, if they have kids at home, it's easier to take care of childcare. It's easier to do all of your stuff that you're trying to do at home and trying to do at work. The
sort of
work like sort of.
Sorry,
not if you've got kids at home. Totally. But the chauffeuring people to daycare and then having to get to the office and then having to go get kids after.
Yeah,
that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So to say a one size fits all to coming back into the office isn't actually true. And I think there are conversations to be had about for some people, it is better for them, actually, to at least have a hybrid model.
I'm running out of time, and finally, Gary's camera is working, so I just want to make sure we get him in before we take a quick commercial break. Gary, we've been talking about the potential political consequences of this strike. Your thoughts on that before we head to commercial?
Well, just a couple of things. One is, you know, the union talks about having a $43 million strike fund. If you take $43 million divided by 155,000 workers and divide it by $75 a day, their strike fund lasts about 4 days. And so I think that, you know, politically, you know, there is some advantage on the side of the government to be able to hold out longer than 4 days. And I must say that my observation of the public is that there's not much sympathy for PSAC members. Having said all of that, I think that PSAC could do themselves a huge favor for both their members and for the employer if they were to think about the kinds of competencies that are needed for the kinds of jobs that are represented in PSAC. And the nature of work is changing. Artificial intelligence is changing things. The digital economy is changing things. And so PSAC instead should be focused on saying, look, we need to work with our employer to become like HR experts and think about these competencies and upgrade the skills of people. This is what's happening in the private sector. It's happened in the oil and gas sector, in the manufacturing sector, in banking, and other sectors. And I think this would be a sort of an extraordinary move on the part of PSAC, but one that would be beneficial to their members and beneficial